I know what my body needs. I'm aware of, what works well for my body. It's not new to me. It's tried and true. I've been with it for a while. I know it works. It was a lot of talking.
I needed the break.
And so when this came up, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that with you. And because you didn't ask, I offered.
I know.
Because that was the thought in my head. I'm like, oh, this will be nice. I'll do this with you. And then I started to think about it. And then you brought in this aspect of fasting with intention, setting some intentions for the fast. And I'm like, what? I think every other time that I've ever done it, it has always been in that space of focusing my energy on my body and on my weight. Even though I might have tried to trick myself that that's not what it was, right?
Yeah.
But that's always what it was. And so this time I'm like, oh, this will be interesting, because I still had thoughts that ran through my head, like they always do now, but they're getting less. And I just simply remember what I focus on, what I feed. And when I have those thoughts run through my head, but I just kind of let go, and I wasn't worried about not eating or anything like that. I knew what my body would do, and it did it. Like, I'm familiar with the humps you talked about when you get hungry. And so I wasn't worried about any of that stuff. And instead I just kind of listened.
Yeah.
And my intention, like, I wasn't as deliberate as you are. I didn't write out a list. I didn't have any sort of like really clear and present intentions for it. More or less, it was, the intention for me was like, this is new and I want to see. I just want to watch. I want to see what happens. I want to see what comes up. This is a new experience for me. It's different than I've ever done it before. And I just want to watch. And I had so much less stress than I remember ever having when I was fasting, or when I have fasted. It was so incredibly, like, just not stressful. Before, it was constantly on my mind.
It's almost like a panic state.
Yeah, before it was like, well, how long has it been? It's been 20,
5 minutes.
26 minutes. Okay. And then I'm sitting there doing the math, and I'm like 32 hours. And then if I go to bed, then I'll be up, and and then that'll give me a day and a half. And like, the whole fucking thing is nonstop. And this time I was like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
It didn't matter at all. And I also didn't have any like preconceived notions of what I was shooting for. Whereas the past, I've been like, I'm going to do at least this much, and I'm going to do at least that much. And then next time I have to do this much. And I just let go of all of that and just watched. And the release for me, was just that letting go and the stress that took place, or the lack of stress that took place. So that was really, really neat.
Yeah.
I told you earlier today, when I was out shopping and walking around the store, I recognized how much energy I had.
Yeah. What was that?
And just how connected I felt to my body. Like, I was noticing how my body felt good as I was moving, as I was kind of walking around and I was doing stuff, and I felt more connected to my body, and it felt good. And I was like, oh God, I fucking love this feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I love that connection and that clarity. Like, things feel crisp.
Yes.
My intentions and my thought and my actions, they feel crisp and kind of like really dialed in.
I had that too. I had waves of loopy, but my loopy was a good mood. It was like a silly, like I was fine. I was like euphoric.
Yeah.
Not so much after I ate, it shifted, but like there was like euphoria. It was weird.
Yeah. It was neat though. It was a good
really
experience for me.
Thank you for being willing to look at it that way.
Yeah. No, thank you for offering.
That's awesome.
I'm glad that you've been sharing this journey that you've been on with your, tell me again, self-initiated, what is it?
Self-initiation journey.
Self-initiation journey, yeah. I'm glad that you share it with me.
Thank you.
There's been some really, like, part of it is fun watching you go through it. And part of it is fun kind of just being a fly on the wall in a sense, even though, it's just whatever you're sharing with me.
Yeah.
But there's also stuff that I glean from it that has been helpful and been nice and introspective. And I also love what you're going through, and I love what it's doing for you, and the changes and the shifts and all the kind of different stuff that
you
I
see changes and shifts
Hell
in
yeah.
me? Really?
Hell yeah.
You have to tell me what those are.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm like, I was really vulnerable last week.
You were.
And now I feel like the entire audience, the entire world is looking at me right now. And now I have stage fright and I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I've just barely been able to speak clearly, and that's only because you spent the majority of the time talking. I was fumble fucking my way through the entire beginning of the podcast because I could feel like eyes on me.
Do you think it's all stemming because of last week?
All I can think of is like I've been vulnerable. Now I'm seen and they can see me, and I'm like, oh God, they can see me.
It's not the first time you've been vulnerable on the show, though.
No, it's not. But I feel like that was pretty.
Some big vulnerability.
Yeah. So now I'm doing that thing where I'm like, peace out.
It's been fun, folks, but
I let you behind the curtain. Now I got to go. What is it? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.